Welcome to the UFC Prediction Strike preview. We run these every week. Last week, we pointed you guys in the right direction pretty much everywhere. We pointed you towards Weili Zhang. We pointed you towards Dricus du Plessis. We also pointed you towards Kevin Jousset, who didn't use his judo at all, but that's fine. We went positive by a good bit. Last card, we've got a great card coming up, fight night between Jared Cannonier and Gregory Rodrigues Robocop, a prediction strike fighter. So let's get into this. Tons of value on this one. I'm hyped.
All righty. With that said, let's get into it. Cannonier Rodrigues, Julia Alvia versus Jacqueline Cavalcanti. Massive price discrepancy here. Is that reflected in the odds as well, or?
Yeah, she's like minus 500-ish.
Yeah, okay. Jacqueline's a big favorite. Fun women's fight here to kick off the card. Julia Avia is coming back after a pretty decent stint away. Her last fight was a loss to Miesha Tate in 2023. And she is she's pretty versatile. She's got heavy hands in the striking department. She's a BJJ black belt. Doesn't incorporate that jiu-jitsu a ton, at least, if she's in a controlling position on the ground. She prefers to ground and pound. Will kind of only look for those subs if she sees a real opportunity for one. Totally okay with striking. But like I said, who knows what kind of version of Avila we're really getting after that long layoff, coming off a loss a while ago against Miesha Tate, who's kind of old. But she's going up against Cavalcanti, who's a long striker, great footwork, manages range well, works the legs early, invests in the body too. Very technical in her striking when she wants to be. When she gets in rhythm, she'll pressure forward at you, might even shoot a takedown. Takedowns aren't the best at all by any means, but she's definitely not afraid. Not as good, I would say, when she's fighting off her back foot. And she's coming off a pretty convincing win over Nora Carnol. She did get away with a few suspect things, like I think a couple cage grabs, but she did look super solid outside of that. I'm going to go with Cavalcanti. She's almost 10 years younger here. She's going to be faster, longer, stronger. Julia, Julia can hang in the striking department for sure. If Cavalcanti was a wrestler at all, I would have absolutely zero faith in Avia, but I still think Cavalcanti gets it done in the striking department.
Yeah, I think this just either goes to a decision or it's by knockout, because they're trying to give her a soft setting, it looks like.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Her name is the something panda of Vila's. It's like
panda?
The raging panda, or like the angry panda.
Need a better name than that. Grant, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's no value here in my eyes. I feel like this is a pretty solid, guaranteed win for Cavalcanti in a lot of ways here. Too much of a layoff as well for Avila. She hasn't fought since 2023, kind of past her prime. Definitely a step up in level of competition, but I feel like that layoff mixed with just some general regression, this feels like a solid spot for Cavalcanti to pick up another win.
Yeah, and if you weren't excited about this last one, well, you're going to be more excited about this next one. Oh, wait. I thought there was Angela Hill versus Sousa next.
Oh, that's in here.
All right. Walter Walker versus Dontel Mays. You've heard the names more than likely before, but do you know the game? Jackson, walk us through.
Yeah, so we've got Walter Walker going up against Dontel Mays, basically a wrestler versus a striker here. So I think the UFC is kind of setting up for a bit of a fraud check here. One is going to get checked. One's wrestling is going to get checked, or one's striking is going to get checked. And Walter Walker, brother of Johnny Walker, who's kind of more an all over the place, explosive striker, spent a ton of time in Russia to learn wrestling. Also has that, I guess, Brazilian striking experience, but he's a terrible, terrible striker. And we saw that in his debut fight. Rebounded all right against Tafa. But yeah, I mean, Walter seems to be improving. I think that that debut was probably a decent wake-up call for him. But yeah, he's basically just a wrestler. He's big like his brother, 6'6". Good takedowns, as you'd expect from him. And Dontel Mays, mostly a boxer, very, very powerful, good footwork, throws in combos, invests in the body and the legs with kicks, has 7 takedowns in the UFC, but like I said, that's not really his go-to game plan. He's looking to strike. He is coming off a decision loss to Shamil Gaziev. And Dontel Mays is really just a fish out of water on the ground, which is why I'm probably going to side with Walter here, even though Walter has he's looked so shaky through his first 2 fights in the UFC. Striking is terrible though. So, I mean, if Mays can kind of not get taken down for a round or something, it could definitely go his way if Walter isn't successful there. But he does have real straight takedowns. So I'm relatively confident if he shoots enough, he should eventually be able to get it down, where Dontel Mays just is really bad. So yeah, going with that.
Yeah. My question with Mays, like, if he loses this fight, is he out of the UFC? Like, how's that work? Like,
maybe for sure. I mean, I don't really know where he's at on his contract, but
because I do think it's interesting. The guy was on Dana White's Contender Series 3 times. And it's like, if that's the case, it makes me curious if it, like, when this guy is basically in do or die mode, he goes for a knockout each time, it looks like. I'm just curious. So you do. I don't know. I kind of want to go for Mays there for gets and jiggles. I'm not a big fan of Walter Walker.
I could see it. I mean, I'm also not a big fan of Walter at all.
it just seems so, like, his first 2, I just kind of see as losses realistically. Like, Tafa's really not anything great. No.
No, yeah, and the Tafa brothers, I mean, they just keep getting worse and worse based on the competition they're losing to.
Yeah.
We just saw Justin get like knocked out by Texera's elbow. So
that was crazy. But yeah, all right. Let's move on to the next one here. We've got Vince Morales versus Elijah Smith. Walk us through this one. What are the prices on this? Are they right?
Yeah. What are the odds on?
The odds seem to be in line with how they're priced.
Okay.
Grant, you are muted, by the way.
Elijah Smith's like a -230 favorite.
Okay, word. Yeah, I think this is actually going to be an exciting fight. Elijah Smith coming off Contender Series. Vince Morales had a very up and down roller coaster career in the UFC. He was cut in 2022, went on a big win streak after that on the regional scene, came back to face Taylor Lapilus, lost in a decision. Yeah, but at least he was trying very hard, landed some shots too. But Lapilus is just a better fighter there, I think. But he is back. You can tell he really wants it. Went hard on the regional scene. So he landed a new spot here against Elijah Smith, who is generally a very good grappler. Yeah, good prospect, I'd say. Decent striking, powerful, very fast, explosive, covers cage very quickly. Good control on the ground, and is totally content with chain wrestling. Will just shoot a takedown every time you get up if he's in the right rhythm. Good cardio, just powerful guy, well-rounded. And yeah, this one is, I think it's going to be a really exciting fight. I think both these guys really want it. We've got a good prospect going up here against a journeyman who's kind of been through the ringer as far as ups and downs in his careers goes. I'm going to go with Elijah Smith. We know what his game plan is going to be. I think it can be effective if he just sticks with it against a guy like Vince Morales. But this one's kind of sketchy for me, especially at the prices. So this is one I'm content just watching.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Elijah Smith by decision.
Yeah,
I like him, but I don't want to overhype myself. There is a good bit of experience with Morales. And if I remember correctly, like, didn't Elijah Smith kind of gas out in his fight or something like that on the Contender Series?
I don't remember if he gassed out, but it's like, to that point, I mean, you can't really put all your faith in a guy in their debut, especially it's like Vince Morales, he lost, but he's coming off a fight against Taylor Lapilus, who's like one of the most dangerous guys like in the division, like good fighter for sure. So is like, if you compare Elijah Smith to Taylor Lapilus, would he have beaten Lapilus in his debut like handily, like the odds suggest? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's what the
I
line
also
suggests
think the
as
fact
well.
that Morales made it through the distance in that fight says that this one could easily probably go to the distance as well. So I kind of
Yeah, he's
like
got
your
the-
lean there, Wells.
I think that's sharp. Yeah.
All right. With that said, we're gonna move on. I like the tattoos though. Cool tattoos. Gabriel Bonfim versus Chaos Williams. This feels like some bigger names. Yeah, walk us through this one. What should be expected here?
Yeah, these are some bigger names. The Bonfim bros, both of them are fighting on this card. Pretty, I would say, decently well-known names. Same with Chaos here.
Chaos. Such a good name.
I don't know if that's, I don't think that's his actual real name, but
Might have changed it.
yeah. But Bonfim, I know, is a favorite here. I think the last time I looked at it, he was around a 2-1 favorite. And Chaos is stepping up on like semi-short notice here. I think it's a couple weeks, 3 weeks maybe. And Bonfim is a striker, high-level boxing credentials, good BJJ, definitely a well-rounded guy. Has only ever been to one decision in his career, but he still does a good job of being technical and staying patient when he's striking. Also does a good job of transitioning to wrestling if the striking isn't working out for him, where he is also pretty proficient. Really good control on the ground, isn't looking to ground and pound, is more looking to work towards positions for a sub. And he is coming off a win over Angelusa, where he looked far better in the striking department, but it is important to note he was taken down a bunch of times in that one. And I don't think it's actually that important to note, considering Chaos Williams is not much of a wrestler, but he is a really powerful striker, good kicks, does a good job of investing in the legs early. Definitely a durable guy, powerful, not the most technical guy ever, but very explosive, very heavy hands, coming off a knockout win over Carlston Harris. And yeah, this should be a super exciting fight, I think. We've got two strikers here. Gabriel is more well-rounded. He does have that wrestling in his back pocket. And I do think because of that, Gabriel probably tries to lean into that wrestling, or at least I would hope that's part of his game plan. And to do that, I mean, we know Gabriel's pretty good cardio, so hopefully he's able to lean against that in this one, because he's going to need to be able to shoot for 3 rounds at least, unless he gets clapped early. So I like Bonfim here. I think he's going to be able to dictate the pace with the striking and the wrestling, but I mean, Chaos, there's definitely a way Chaos wins. He is super explosive. If Bonfim gasses at all, I think Chaos would be there to take advantage of it.
I'm going to take the Chaos side here. I think the takedown defense is just good enough. He's never been finished in his career. This feels like a fight where either he's probably going to get towards a knockout or Bonfim is going to finish the submission here. Feel like this one is probably a heavy favorite to end inside the distance. I just feel like I'm going to trust the electric striking upside with Chaos Williams, and I'm going to go for that bit of extra boost on PredictionStrike with a KO win as well.
I mean,
Okay.
I'm going to go with Bonfim by submission. I'm not going to lie.
Don't mind that.
It just seems like if he's going to win this fight, why not go to the thing that he probably made a name for himself to get to where he is now? Like, when you look at this guy's resume, I mean, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 submissions. Only 2 of which in the UFC. I don't know. A lot of those were probably against trash cans, too. It just seems like if this guy is going to be the real deal, that's how he gets it done. But I like what Grant said a lot there. Probably inside the distance, because if Chaos gets it done, he's putting the Bonfim's lights out.
Yeah,
I'm curious what the odds would be on a submission, because it feels like it'll probably be somewhat similar to his odds just to win the fight. Like, I think if he wins the fight, there's probably a 80% chance around that that it's by submission. So I wouldn't expect it to be crazy juice, but I feel like that's a good little thing to throw in if you trust the Bonfim side.
Yeah, I'll probably lean submission as well. I do think decision, I mean, he doesn't go, obviously, in his wins, doesn't go to decision often at all. But like when you watch Bonfim fight, he is a patient guy. He definitely has the ability to be technical. So and he has really good top control when it's on the ground. So I feel like I'm going to look at these lines and see kind of whether I like decision or sub more based on that.
I like it. I like it. All right. With that said, we're going to move on to the next one. We've got Rafael Esteban versus Jesus Aguilar, who thinks he's in a modeling shoot here. What should we be expecting from this fight? So a lot of jiu-jitsu, maybe from Rafael? Walk us through it.
Yeah, I mean, you guessed it. Rafael is generally a grappler, really good forward pressure on top. Also can throw big on the feet, likes to apply pressure standing up too. Striking is really just there to set up the takedowns, which aren't the best at all, but he is an explosive guy. And he never quits when it comes to trying to get you down to the ground where he's the best. Once you're on the ground, he's just as aggressive, is looking to get to a position to submit you. Also, will sneak in some ground and pound to loosen you up. Really good control. Coming off a debut win over Charles Johnson, where he had 9 minutes of control time, 3 takedowns. And this is going to be a grappler versus grappler fight. Jesus Aguilar, 11 wins in the UFC. 5 of those come by guillotine. And he's not just snatching things up, really. He's actually setting up those guillotines. It's one of his go-to submission moves. Decent striking, definitely can throw in combos, has some power behind his hands too. And that striking is a little bit sloppy, but again, he's more of a grappler. He's looking to get it to the ground, coming off one of those guillotine wins over Stuart Nickel. And I think it's going to be an Esteban fight. I just think he's the better grappler. He's going to be the one coming forward. I'm pretty confident in that. And he's too good. I mean, he's too good of a grappler to get caught up in a guillotine. So he also has jiu-jitsu tatted on his chest.
I was to say, that's why I made the joke. I was like, you have that tatted on your chest. I hope you're at least decent at that. What do you think about this fight to go the distance, though? Because they're both so good in the grappling game, it sounds like.
I can see it. I mean, there's always the...
Or does it transition more to like a striking kind of deal? Like,
I think they're going to be on the ground. And it's like, I honestly think there's going to be sub probably one way or the other. Like, I kind of foresee these guys being wrapped up the entire fight, and Esteban is so explosive that I think I would lean sub over decision.
Makes sense. That's the only losses Aguilar has by sub.
I think Aguilar's best path to success is probably also via sub. So I think there's a chance that you see Esteban kind of use his advantage in the striking department. I feel like with the Esteban side, you have a higher range of outcomes in this one. I think if it's a striking match, that almost favors him more than it would be if it was only on the ground. Obviously, that's going to be Aguilar's primary goal in this one, is to probably just make this a ground fight, and hopefully he can get into a position where he can fight towards that sub. But I think if this one goes to decision, it'll probably be Esteban's to lose. And I think if this one is standing up more than it's on the ground, he is probably also racking up points in that category. So he has a huge reach advantage. He's a more technical striker. I feel like this fight probably leans his way, whichever outcome you see going. But I expect Aguilar to fight towards that sub for sure.
I like it. I like it at all. All right. Moving on to the next one. Angela Hill versus Ketlin Souza. I love Angela Hill's hair here.
I was starting to think I forgot this fight on the slideshow. Glad it's in here.
Yeah, good. I don't really have anything to say here. Like, it's 50-50 according to books, so in theory the prices should be closer, so a little bit of edge on PS for Angela Hill. If you haven't already downloaded the app, now's the time to do so. But yeah, Jackson, Grant, what should we be expecting here?
Yeah, Angela Hill, we know her, we love her, like Well said. 40 years old now, still fighting at a super high level. Just a consistent winner in this division. Mostly a striker, but she could definitely manage her own everywhere. Good speed, high volume. Not very powerful, but the volume striking is really what she goes for and is what wins her fights. Bounces around on her feet, even at this age. Great movement. Cardio's still there. She's not as good as it used to be, but it's still there enough so for her to go the distance pretty much in every fight and looked good doing it. Very busy. Coming off a decision loss to Baby Shark Tabitha Ricci, where Tabitha kind of, the pressure seemed to be the deciding factor there. Takedown defense actually looked okay, though. Was good at staying up against the cage without grabbing or anything. And Ketlin Souza is a fighter who applies a lot of pressure, heavy striker, big kicks, does a ton of damage. She's a good grappler, too. Not the best takedowns, really. She doesn't shoot straight. She more works you to the cage and gets you down. Uses her strength in a lot of situations. Coming off a decision win over Yasmin Yaregui. And Angela, I believe, is the slight favorite here. Obviously, she has a ton more experience than Ketlin has. She is very skilled. Still looks great at the ripe age of 40 years old. But I mean, we've seen in the recent fights that Angela Hill has struggled in, that she struggles with forward pressure and aggressiveness. And that's pretty much sums up Ketlin Souza's fighting style. I think she honestly comes forward, just throws bombs continuously. She has that cardio, gets Angela against the cage / on the ground. Yeah, I think the only worry with Ketlin here for me is the cardio, but I think she's going to be good here.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at this, an interesting thing here. Angela Hill cannot buy a split decision win in the UFC to save her life. So just based off the odds, I think she's probably the more technical sound fighter. Souza's like 10 years younger, but the odds are 50-50. I think that's pretty telling. Yeah, give me Hill for her first ever split decision win.
Let's go.
Yeah, I think you're getting great value on PS as well. If you like the Angela Hill side, there's no better place to take it. You're getting her at underdog pricing, and she is a slight favorite in this one. I think if you were looking to take this elsewhere, I'd probably stay off because I think Souza's very live. You mentioned that pressure being a bit of a struggle in the past, and you're getting a younger fighter who has good knockout ability as well, 8 knockouts, which I feel like is a ton for a female fighter. And she just got a sub in her last match, so definitely clearly versatile, a lot of paths to success. I would probably stay away from this one because I think the underdog is very live. But on PS, you're getting great value. That's where I would play this fight for sure.
100%. All right, on to the next one. Connor Matthews versus Jose Delgado. Yeah, I'm brand new to both of these guys, so please make me more familiar to their game. I don't even see odds available at this
They
point.
might not be out yet. Yeah.
I'm seeing Delgado at -280, but that could be debatable.
Sounds right. Wow, that actually sounds kind of crazy, but
Walk us through it.
Delgado is a DWCS guy. He, from what I've seen, is a long striker. Nice kicks, kind of likes to stay outside, but definitely is powerful, can beat you up in the pocket, can also grapple, and has good takedowns. He has 100% finish rate. This kid seems like a stud, very well-rounded. Connor is a striker. He's okay with throwing everything at you. Also, it allows him to be very hittable. You'll see that he has a negative striking differential, 6.19 strikes absorbed versus 5.3 landed. And he does have okay offensive takedowns. Mostly just gets things in scrambles, but he is a pretty good grappler / wrestler as well. Coming off a loss to Dennis Bazooka, and I'm going to go with Jose Delgado here, who I think looks like a really solid prospect. He has a 100% finish rate, so I mean, there's always that question. We don't really know what he's going to look like, come a decision in the 3rd round when he might be in trouble. But Connor Matthews just got his lights knocked out. I think
Matthews looks cooked.
Yeah, I think Jose can get this one done. I was kind of hoping.
Yeah, I'm rocking
for
with
better
Delgado
odds,
in this one as well. Has not let any of his wins go to the distance so far in any competition. I expect him to use the height and reach to his advantage. It would appear like Matthews is probably the better striker at this stage in Delgado's career. But Delgado is the way better takedown guy. I think he could easily fight towards a finish, and having the reach advantage and the height advantage should help him keep some distance between him and Matthews, which I feel like would be the only way he probably loses his fight is if he gets just completely outstruck. So I'm gonna rock with Delgado in this one.
Yeah, Delgado by knockout sounds nice.
I feel like the tattoo on his shoulder kind of looks like it was just like copy and pasted on there.
Yeah.
What does that say?
I don't know, but it's like I don't know how it's like a straight line, like all the way
Yeah.
onto his shoulder. But
All right, on to the next one here. Rodolfo Vieira versus Andre Petrovsky. Familiar with the names? Now walk us through their games.
yeah, so we've got pretty much an even odds bout, at least on PredictionStrike. I don't know how that's reflected elsewhere, but this should be a
Vieira's
good
a
fight.
much bigger favorite.
Yeah, big favorite. Okay.
220.
This should be a good fight then. I mean, you're getting a great price for Vieira in that case. Vieira's a really good athlete, great BJJ. He's won multiple international titles, black belt. Really explosive, good takedowns to go along with that grappling. Technique-wise, could be a little bit better, I guess, but he's definitely explosive. Game plan is going to be getting you to the ground, but he's fine with striking. He submitted Armen Petrosyan in his last fight, took him down 3 times there. And Petrosky is a really good wrestler, really good offensive takedowns, powerful guy. Striking is probably a little bit worse than Vieira's is. Really just there to set up the wrestling. Takedowns, like I said, are great, super clean, solid jiu-jitsu, and good top control because of that. He's coming off a win over Dylan Budka, where he had 10 minutes of control in that one. And this is going to be another grappling match. I think one thing that's going to be important to look at here is the wrestling disparity between the two, because I do think Andre Petrosky is a far better wrestler. Even though Rodolfo is so explosive, I do think because of that, we could see Petrosky at least end up on top at first in a lot of these wrestling exchanges, which could prove fruitful for Andre Petrosky. Rodolfo hits super hard, though, probably is a little bit less shinny than Andre. I also like that we can rely on Andre to use wrestling. That's pretty much all he did in his last couple of fights. I'm gonna pick the big underdog in Petrosky here. Not that huge of an underdog on PS, but elsewhere he is. I think he has good enough wrestling, good enough BJJ to not get caught when he's on the ground. He gets a lot of hate because he did knock himself out recently, but yeah, I mean, I don't think that's going to happen twice. I'm going to go with the dog.
Completely agree. I think on PS, you probably stay away from this one, or there's great value on the Vieira side. I think there's totally a path to a victory here from him. He's a far more dangerous fighter on the mat, has shown that with his 9 career submissions. I think on PS, you kind of have to take that side. But I'm seeing the same kind of edge and lean on the Petrosky side as you elsewhere. So I think it all depends on kind of where you want to get after this fight.
Yeah, I'm going to be the hater here, I guess, and go with Rodolfo Vieira by knockout. I just think that, like, if you're going to have a very heavily grappling match, it's like your opponent could have that edge over you, why not just switch to where you potentially have more power? And who knows, maybe another knockout comes. So we will see.
Petrosky's been knocked out 3 times and has never been subbed. So even though he's a better fighter on the ground, Vieira is, I think you could still get that value on a knockout. He's been a little bit shinny as of late.
Sure. All righty. On to the next one. Ismail Bonfim versus Nazim Sadykov, who looks like he's just made a bad picture for a modeling shoot. So walk us through this one here. What should we be expecting? The lines look close. If I remember correctly, I want to say we were talking rather positively about Nazim Sadykov last time we discussed. What's kind of the deal there? What should we be expecting from this fight, I guess?
I don't know, dude, but he's mogging us in this photo here. I think, yeah, this is going to be a good fight. Nazim is coming off a draw to Borshev, who lost on this most recent card. I think, and this is the second Bonfim brother on the card, Ismail, who rebounded nicely after a loss that a lot of people were calling a fraud check a year ago. And he's a really good striker. A lot like his brother stylistically, probably a little bit more wild in the striking department. We'll mix in some spinning attacks, some flying knees, takedowns as well. Definitely powerful, accurate, clean striker, solid takedown defense. Like his brother, high-level boxing experience and good BJJ, coming off a decision win over Vince from Hell Pichel, where he looked really good in the striking department, dominated there. And Nazim, really good kickboxer, fast, powerful, also works in some flashy moves like spinning attacks, can be patient, though, too, and wait for the right opening. Like I said, coming off that draw, where Vyacheslav is actually beating him, but he had a few pretty good takedowns and a knockdown in that one late that shifted things his way, ultimately ending in a draw. I think, like I said, I think this is going to be a really fun fight. Nazim, I mean, he has had a lot of success in the UFC. There are a couple asterisks on his wins, I would say. I mean, his win against Evan Elder was stopped because of a cut. Borshev, I mean, that was obviously a draw, but he was winning that fight until Nazim kind of turned things around. Terrence McKinney, was winning, and then, because every fight Terrence McKinney fights and ends in 20 seconds, he got knocked out. But it's going to be a close fight. I think I'm going to go with Ismail. I don't think he's going to gas out like we saw McKinney did. He's really busy in the striking. May even work in a takedown. So I'm going to go with Ismail. I don't have full trust in him yet, but he did rebound pretty nicely, and I'm pretty confident in him to get done here against Nazim, who I'm not too confident in his most recent 3 wins or so. So.
Yeah, this is my favorite investment of the card, especially given the value that we're seeing there. You're getting a decently significant favorite at underdog pricing on PredictionStrike. So I'm going to rock with Bonfim here. All of his losses have come via submission, and I just don't think Nazim is skilled enough to really take advantage of that. I mean, he'll have the advantage on the ground probably, but I don't think he's the kind of fighter that's really going to be able to use that advantage in order to fight towards a win here. I think the discrepancy isn't crazy enough. I think if he was a better submission artist or a little bit better on the ground, that you'd be looking at different odds here, but I don't think he's quite the caliber of guy that has submitted Bonfim in the past. So I'm going to rock with Bonfim here with the underdog pricing.
Yeah, that's a great price on PredictionStrike.
I guess I'm Kendrick Lamar because I'm the biggest hater in this episode. I'm going with Nazim by sub. I just like the spot there. All the losses that Bonfim does have is from submission, and I don't know. I don't think the resume is really that much better than Nazim. Realistically, he got absolutely clapped by Benoit. So we will see ultimately. But remember,
Benoit's good though.
Yeah, Benoit's good, but remember, I think I went 6-5 last weekend, so not the best record when you're trying to do UFC picks. You probably want something a lot higher than that for what it's worth.
The records will be posted in this episode. We have all the records from last card. So,
but yeah, just keep that in mind when I'm spewing my shit. I am not the most intelligent when it comes to these picks. Bonfim is by far and away the correct way to play this on PS as well. Moving on to the next one, we've got Edmund Shabazyan versus Dylan Budka, who, this is a look.
I like it.
Walk us through it.
Yeah, we've got 2 big boys here, Edmund Shabazyan versus Dylan Budka. I think these prices pretty much reflect the consensus odds. You might be getting a decent deal on Edmund even. But he is a really good striker. Well-rounded too, very good kicks, invests early. He does get taken down. Takedown defense sits at 65%, and it's because he's kind of just he's like a cone basically when he's striking. He plants super hard before he throws. Yeah, scrambles and submissions aren't the best either, so he really is in trouble a lot of the time when he does get taken down. He got subbed by GM3 in his last fight. Dylan Budka, good grappler, D1 wrestler, really big, clean takedowns, great on the ground, great control, also works towards positions well and fluidly.
Why are the odds this far apart? Just looking at this Edmund's recent resume.
I mean, I'm on the Budka side of things, so I don't really know.
That's kind of where I was going to lean to, just looking at this. Like, I'm very confused. Graham, maybe you can.
Well, the opinion for the Shabazyan side would be that this is a significant drop off in level of competition. He's fought some big names. He's lost 5 of his last 7 for sure. But before that, he did start 11-0 in his career. Definitely a bit of a knockout artist. This just feels like a good bounce back spot in my eyes. I don't think the odds should be as far apart as they are, but this feels like a come down in competition for a way to Shabazyan to get back in the win column. I think that Budka is significantly worse than some of the fighters that he's been taken out by recently, and he doesn't pose the same level of threat that those guys can on the ground and standing up. So this just feels like a spot for a guy who's still pretty young to get back into the win column, only 27 years old. So plenty of room to grow and kind of build off of those losses. And this feels like a spot for that to happen.
Yeah, I think the Budka name just it's not sexy at all right now because he's coming off the loss to Petrosky on this one. Cardio actually looked really good in that one, he despite him missing weight. Dylan is not the best fighter ever. Definitely want to say that. But Edmund, useless on the ground, can't defend takedowns. Budka, D1 wrestler. I'm going with the dog.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you can put a ton of confidence into a guy that's been so inconsistent as of late. I don't think it's worth laying the 360 or even the significant price advantage on PredictionStrike. So this is probably one that you're comfortable staying off of. But if I had to pick, I think he gets back in the win column here. I just think he's a more talented fighter who's had some bad luck and some tougher matchmaking as of late. So
I'll be like Moses and try to part the seas on this one. I think we're going to get Edmund by split decision. Can you
even bet that by split?
Probably. But the reasoning here is based off of what you guys have told me. Budka, he sounds like he's probably going to be a little bit more live than people are expecting, just off of the wrestling bit. He's got good conditioning, can probably keep the fight going. But Edmund, he's just such a massive favorite that there's probably something that we aren't fully taking into account here. All right, on to the next one. Toothless, can you stop being so insane? That'd be great. Calvin Kattar versus Youssef Zalal. I'm assuming this is aging out kind of deal versus prospect.
Yep.
Is why the line's like this.
Yeah, kind of a prospect, more just like a hot fighter right now, but definitely that vibe. Kattar
coming off 6 straight wins for Zalal.
Yeah, Kattar is definitely closer to his way out than way in. That's certain. And the Boston finisher, love him, good old Boston boy. Accurate boxer, really good timing. Not the most powerful guy ever, just pretty high volume in the striking department, and good technique. Works the angles. He has really good takedown defense too, at least on paper. The gym he's at, New England Cartel, is kind of notorious for not defending takedowns well. So he got taken down a bunch of times in his last fight. I believe he gave up 8 takedowns. So yeah, that's kind of the jury's out on that. But Youssef, very electric guy as of late. He got cut from the UFC in 2023, and since then has been absolutely running through people. Very high volume guy, also powerful, sound defensively, hit with 2.84 strike, absorbs only 1.71 strikes a minute, which is really, really good. He's hard to hit. I'd say mostly a wrestler with really good subs, but he's versatile for sure. And he's coming off was his 3rd submission win in a row against Jack Shore, who is actually a prospect that a lot of people liked. That was an armbar sub. Jack Shore quit the UFC shortly after that fight. Yusuf Zalal absolutely just ran through him. And yeah, this seems like pretty easy 1+2 stuff here. Like Wells said, we've got one dude working his way up the ranks. We've got one dude who's just slipping with every fight he's in. So I think it's a really safe play to go with Yusuf Zalal here. Yusuf has just looked great since coming back to the UFC.
Yeah, agreed. I think that the 390 number is probably representative of people getting a little bit on the hype train here. 6 straight wins. He's looked great since he's been back in the UFC. So that number might be a little bit getting carried away. But I'm pretty confident in Zalal's ability to win this fight. So I'm comfortable with that number. I think you could also look towards a submission in this one if you want to get that number down a little bit. Also, I mean, a difference on PredictionStrike, obviously, but less than the actual fight odds. So I think you're getting good value there.
I feel like Vegas because I'm just taking the opposite constantly.
You're taking the finisher?
I kind of like Kattar here, surprisingly enough. I know, yeah, he's been absolutely terrible, but like, look at the names and how the fights have actually ended. They've all gone to decision, realistically, and when he has won, it's either been by decision or by knockout. So taking a very hot take here and going with Kattar by knockout, or if like Zalal wins this, I think it goes to decision. I think this is just a situation where it's not so much like it's either a fraud check or it's going to be like everyone's like, okay, he would just have like 3 kind of softer fighters. Like, I don't think Jack Shore or Jarno Aarons or Billy Q's a fan favorite. I know that. But those don't scream like anything crazy to me. But Ilya Topuria back in 2020. That is a sexy name on your resume. Outside of that, we will see. Can I go negative on my picks this week? Find out. All right. On to the main event with our actual PS fighter here, Jared Cannonier versus Gregory Rodrigues.
Best buy the card.
Yeah, best value based off the odds we have here by age and everything. Walk us through, outside of just the price and odd value alone, why we should like Gregory here.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cannonier's obviously live at any point, just given the power that he's had throughout his career. It just feels like some of that power and explosiveness hasn't really translated as much recently. It seems like some of that has kind of lost him as he's gotten older. Obviously, he's still live. He's fought a higher level of competition than Rodrigues. With Rodrigues' last loss to Bruno Ferreira, it feels like one good punch could get through, and you could kind of see this fight get flipped upside down. But outside of that, Rodrigues is the far more skilled mixed martial artist. He's capable of getting this done in all facets and is just the far superior fighter in my eyes. So I think you can be comfortable throwing him in elsewhere, but you should absolutely be smashing this number on PredictionStrike. It's pretty unreal value.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think both of these guys are really good. I think it's going to be a fun fight. Cannonier he's old now at 40 years old. Chin is definitely on its way out. Greg Rodrigues, he's just looked so good coming off that win over CLD where he had 4 takedowns, 8 minutes of control. Very happy to back a PS fighter, and I think I would 100% invest in him in this fight.
I think it goes to the distance at minimum. I'm not confident, but I don't know. It's an interesting one. I don't mind it, but once again, I feel like Vegas because I kind of want to just continue the theme here, see how low I can go, if you will. But the correct play here on PS is to go with Gregory, so I'm going to say to shout out Gregory. And that's
I also think if it goes to the distance, it should be pretty locked on for Rodrigues as well. It feels like Cannonier's best chance in this one is just kind of flipping this fight around and fighting towards that knockout if he connects with something good. I think the longer this fight goes on, the more talented strikes you're going to see from Rodrigues, the more time you're going to spend on the ground. The talent is going to shine through the longer this fight goes on. So I don't love the decision as much. I think Cannonier by KO is probably your lean if you're on that side.
Yeah, I can't get there with Cannonier. The more I look at his resume too, it's just like, it wasn't as appealing as it initially looked. Yeah, no, it's Gregory by a mile, I think. So that'll be fun. Hopefully, he gets the knockout. With that said, hopefully you make some money this weekend if you're listening to this, whether that's investing on PredictionStrike or whatever other venture you may participate in. But that's all we got for you. We'll see exactly what our records are on here. I know Grant's got those tallied up for you guys on screen, so you guys can know whether to fade me as I potentially head to how low I can go here, or continue to make profit by tailing Grant and Jackson. So with that said, appreciate you all. Hope you have a great day. And until next time, don't be like the Mavericks. Have a better
Don't be
day.
like the Mavericks.
Peace now.
Peace.